5Ks to go then. 3 riders at the front, 17 seconds separating the leader and the chasing 2. This is that final little climb of the race, uncategorised, but it's where it goes uphill for 500 metres. And here's she climbing in the drops here, one of 3 riders who are set to be, as it stands, the podium. Let's see. If this is to be the podium, none of them will have been born on the day that today's retiree, 51-year-old Davide Rebellin, began his professional career in August 1992. Formolo is now trying to make sure it is a 1-2 on the podium for UAE Emirates. And for those of you who missed it earlier on, yes, Rebellin today ends a 30-year career. 12 teams down that time. He's going to finish today 15 years after his 19th and final Grand Tour. 6 years after his last monument, of which he rode 46, winning in Liège in 2004. At that stage, he said he could see himself doing 3 more years. Well, here we are in 2022, 18 years later, and Rebellin retires behind here, as we've got a young Italian who might be about to join his teammate Mark Hirschi, because Davide Formolo could be up here with an opportunity to win at home if Hirschi can't keep the gap to his teammate.
Yeah, well, we said this was a distinct possibility that Formolo would use up Conchi and go on the attack, and Conchi had no answer. As soon as Formolo went, Conchi looked over his shoulder to say, well, who else is coming? Because third's about as good as I can do today against UAE, who've had everything under control all day long. Now Formolo is trying to ride his way across to Mark Hirschi. 7 seconds the gap at Hirschi. He is holding a really good rhythm, very strong up that climb. A full attack by Formolo up there. You'd think this would stay the order in, unless Hirschi gets the idea that Formolo's on his own and they can ride in with the 2 of them.
Formolo has him in sight as he looks behind. I mentioned Davide Rebellin. I know a lot of you will be tuning in a little later today. There's been a lot of other cycling to watch, certainly over on the track. And it was at the start of this race that we had that image in the neutral zone of the man they call Rocha here from this region. Formolo riding out the neutral zone with Rebellin, having that long conversation. Rebellin a month older than Jens Vogt and Lance Armstrong, the man who won the Ardennes Triple, but 18 years ago in 2004. And a reminder that 4/5 of this peloton weren't even born when Rebellin won his first pro race in 1992. Rhythm is a Dancer was #1 in the UK when he turned pro, and it was a year before the first internet browser, I should say, was invented, Mosaic. Rebellin has seen so many changes down years, perhaps more than any other rider in the history of this sport. And today, he's going to be part of a race that is going to see 3 young riders taking it to the front. Here is Nicola Conti, who's at 30 seconds now. 23 seconds further up the road is Davide Formolo, and a further 7 seconds up the road from this man is the lone leader Mark Hirschi. 3 kilometres to go for the Swiss. It looks like being a 1-2, unless there is some sort of dramatic change here, Robbie.
Yeah, and I'm not expecting a dramatic change unless someone has a very untimely mechanical. But Mark Hirschi, well, obviously not going to wait for Davide Formolo. Just 7 seconds between them, and look over the shoulder, but no easing off on the pedals for the Swiss. He wants to get the win, and as you mentioned before, Rob, yeah, off that phenomenal season a couple of years ago when he was riding with Sunweb, wins in the Tour de France, multiple stage wins, had a really tough time last year. He had an injury, he was out with illness. He's finding his form again. It'd be good to see him get back to the form that he showed when he was with the Sunweb team a couple of years ago. But at the moment, Formolo, he's the local man. He'd love to get back up to his teammate and say, hey, listen, what do you think about me winning in the area that I live in?
9 seconds, though, now. It's drifting again. This is a really fascinating internal battle. One thing that looks to be sure now is that it's not just going to be Jumbo-Visma who are the top dogs in terms of wins. We know that down the years, it's certainly for the last decade, also been Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl, hasn't it? They have 47 wins. Of course, they're no longer racing here. Jumbo-Visma have 48 wins. They've ended their season. The team at the front with the 1 and 2 at the minute have 47. Jumbo-Visma are about to be joined right at the top of the tree. We're heading into the very beautiful and scenic Bassano del Grappa. And it's Mark Hirschi who is just over a kilometre away now from taking victory. In fact, 1K to go for the man who is on his way to win number 4 for the season. And this now should be his. Formolo just behind. A man who's worked so hard for his team. In fact, he's become more of a worker, hasn't he, in recent times. Been a while since he was winning big races himself. 2 years since his last win in the Dauphiné. When they come, they're generally big ones. As it's just about held up right there by Hirschi, who's just a few hundred metres from the line now. It's going to come down to this scenic old bridge. And it's one of the most stunning finishes in professional cycling. Through that final corner. Thankfully, we haven't got a big bunch in here, because that would be a scary prospect, I think.
Well, he's not holding anything back, is he? I mean, it's been clinical by UAE, but Hirschi, he's gone with them on the climbs, but he's opened the gap up by taking the risks and having the skills on the technical sections of the course. He's going to grab the win.
Mark Hirschi then with one final uphill to the line. 4.5 hours of racing. They've been on 2 different circuits, on all sorts of surfaces, in one of the biggest and most important cycling regions in the world. It has been a spectacular way to end 2022. And right back on the top of things, just as the season ends, is Mark Hirschi as UAE equal the top number of wins this year. Jumbo-Visma have company. And it's also a 1-2 for UAE Emirates as Formolo finishes second. They took control of the race, they destroyed the competition, and they win 2 out of the 2 races. Wednesday was Trentin, today's Hirschi, and you have to give your hat off to Nicola Conci, who could do very little apart from do what he did in the end there. A good ride from him and Alpecin de Koenig. And as the sport says goodbye to Davide Rebellin after a 30-year career, it is a sensational end, an entertaining day in the saddle with Mark Hirschi, the deserved winner. Look at all those UAE jerseys near the top. That could be, well, 4 inside the top 10, 15?
Well, Trentin, he actually came in to punch the air, celebrate the team victory, and Oldani just pipped him on the line, but looked like...
Veneto Classic 2022 ends like this. Mark Hirschi, the winner. First of 4 UAE